Hello, good evening and welcome back. It is about 92 degrees outside. It's a bright blue day. This is Guadalajara in the state of Jalisco in Mexico, and you have found your way back once again to Vino Mexico, your weekly wine show where we look at all of the great wines being produced down here in Mexico, from the Baja California all the way over to Coahuila, Zacatecas, down to Aguascalientes, and everywhere else in this great land of Mexico where we're producing some really good quality wines. Because by now you know why we're doing this, because we believe that every wine has its own story to tell, of the land, of the people, of the passion, and of the quality of the wines and the land that goes into making this fantastic beverage that we call wine. And because that our reason for drinking wine is about those special moments between you and somebody else, or a group of people, or whoever you are sharing this great drink with, it is about those moments that you create, and that special something that wine adds to that moment. And because the Mexican people are warm and are hospitable and are passionate about what they do and are very proud of their culture and of their land, we know that that special something in the wine helps to make the wine here some of the greatest wines on the planet, if not some of the least known wines, and that is something that we are trying to change. By now you know how we're doing this. Every week we take a bottle of wine, we open it up, we describe it, we look at it from a consumer's point of view, because I am not a sommelier, I am not a wine expert. I like to drink wine as a consumer because of what it tells me about the place, because of how it makes me feel, because of how those special moments I was just talking about. This is what we're doing, so we're looking at it from your perspective, from a value perspective. Is it a good wine for the money that you're paying? Is it a good wine for those moments that it gives to you? That is why we are looking at this. So this week, we are bringing to you the fourth and final part of the Solar Fortun range, from the Solar Fortun winery in Ensenada in the Baja California. And this we are saving best for last. I present to you from Solar Fortun the Noble Cru 2012. This is the top range wine that is produced by the Lopez family up in the Solar Fortun winery in Ensenada in the Baja California. A little about this wine. This wine is a reflection of its name, the name Cru. The name Cru comes from the French word quatre, which literally means growth. So this is a representation of the terroir, of the land, and of the varietals and the grapes that are grown within this particular winery. Literally in France, the word cru literally meant vineyards, or collection of vineyards, and it was a representation of that. It is not, as some may think, a guarantee of quality, because people say, oh no, it's a Grand Cru, it's a Grand Cru Superior, it's a Premier Grand Cru class. The cru part literally just means vineyard, or collection of vineyards. Therefore, it is a representation of the vineyard. So after the cru aspects of the wine is also to be considered noble. Well, now why noble? Nobility is a very odd type of concept. To a lot of people, it suggests that somehow things are better. And unlike in a lot of some cases in France where you're talking the premier class, the Grand Cru class, and now we have a noble class, it seems to be a sort of another indication of it is somehow better. In this case, the reference to nobility is a reference to the grapes and the varietals that are used within the land that is used. Literally, it is a reference to a noble blood. It seems to be a running sort of theme throughout some of the wine, especially with the O Positivo. It is literally the lifeblood of the land grown into forms of grapes. And this, in today, with it being Good Friday, is particularly appropriate because wine for thousands of years has been used as a religious sacrament. Of course, the turning from water into wine, and the blood of the Savior and the lifeblood of the earth in this case. All of these allegories of the way wine is looked at and how it is to be considered as something sacred, as something special, literally translates into drinking the blood of the life force of something. In this case, the life force of the land that is there in Ensenada within the Solar Fortun. The reference then would be literally drinking in the life force from the sun as is presented in the grapes. It's an abstract concept, but this was roughly the idea that was wanted to be translated, and as such was the pure representation of the essence of each of the grapes grown at the Solar Fortun winery, presented in its finest form, which is the Noble Cru. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this allegory is represented in physical nature. As I said, each bottle has a story to tell. This wine is made from all of the different varietals that they are working with in Solar Fortun. So that is the Mourvèdre varietal, the Cabernet Sauvignon varietal, the Petit Verdot varietal, and the Shiraz varietal. So far here on Vino Mexico, we have looked at all of these 4 varietals with the exception of the Petit Verdot. So I'm going to be concentrating on the description of that a little bit later. But of course, as you know, the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Shiraz, and the Mourvèdre, all very strong, all very powerful varietals, all have their own spiciness, their own fruitiness, their own jamminess, their own different types of woods, their own different types of mineralities. And of course, as I've said before, in terms of the minerality, for those of you who are just joining us, no, the Baja California wines, they're really salty. This winery is working specifically to change the flavors of the wine, to reduce the minerality, to create a more umami flavor, and working in new and exciting ways to really get the best flavor out of these wines. And so far, as you may have seen, we've been looking at the Confabulario, the O Positivo, and the La Viña en Rosa, which was the rosé wine which we looked at last week. Every single one has had a different character and a different flavor and a different personality, which has fit in really, really well to this series of videos. Okay, so as you know, all of the different grapes within this, we've looked at all of them so far, with the exception of the Petit Verdot. So we're going to be looking once again within the Wine Folly book by Madeleine Phuket, www.winefolly.com. Has a lot of really great information for wine beginners and wine experts and people who just want to learn a little bit more in an easier, more graphical way. This is really, really helpful. Doesn't really give any specific information about Mexico, which is a shame, and we have found some differences in the character and the structure and the flavors of the wine in what is presented in general terms within the grapes here in the book, but it is still good information, and it helps us, to get a good start in understanding in what we're dealing with. So we know all about so far the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Shiraz and the Mourvèdre. So the Petit Verdot. This is a medium to high fruit type of wine. It is a full, strong-bodied wine. It has very high tannins. It has medium-high acidity and medium-high alcohol. In terms of predominant flavors, unlike the ones where we're talking sort of a lot of black flavors, this one goes from a black cherry plum, violet and lilac, so more floral flavors, and sage. So perhaps this time we're going to be getting sort of more herbs mixed in there with sort of more floral tones. It has a large side of herbal notes from violet, iris, lilac, lavender, dried herbs, thyme, sage, and matcha powder. I don't know what that is. Sorry. It seems to be less on the oak side and less on the mineral side, with a good wedge of the wood flavors. Again, coming from the warm climates in the Baja California, we're still looking at blueberries and a blackberry jam type of flavor. So, are we going to be looking at another jammy wine? Who knows? We will soon see. I'm hoping that the floral notes in this particular varietal are going to help to counteract the jamminess and the blackberryness and the very strong fruity nature, to give it more balance with the higher tannins and just sort of level and mellow things out a little bit. We're going to see. We're going to check it out. Don't you worry about that. Okay, so 2012. This is a 5-year-old wine. So we may have to decant this wine, simply because once a wine gets past 5 years old, and certainly up to 10 years old and beyond, the sediments and the tannins in the wine start to clump together to create the sediment, and it drops down. A lot of people will say that you need to decant wine to aerate it to create greater aroma, and although this may help in some cases, the primary reason for decanting a wine is to remove the sediment. As this is a fine French style wine, and it is more than 5 years old, we will be decanting solely for that reason. Okay, so before we decant the wine, we have to obviously open it up. $2 bottle opener from Walmart, in order to check the cork, as we always do, to make sure that everything is fine, everything is in order, which I'm pretty sure it will be, because even after 5 years, all of the corks in these wines have been perfect so far, so I'm not expecting any problems. And of course, as soon as this arrived here, this was put into my wine cooler and has been stored at the appropriate temperature, which is 55 degrees Fahrenheit or 12 degrees Celsius, whichever is your preference. Metric, imperial, imperial, metric. Perhaps we start using some, I don't know, another type of method of temperature, like 75 groats or something along those lines. Something a little more archaic. I'm going to look it up, and next week I'll actually use a strange measurement just to see who can recognise it. And if anyone gets the right answer, there might be a prize in it. You never know. Who knows? Okay, cork comes out perfectly. Okay, the cork, again, looks absolutely perfect. As you can see, there is no breakage, there is no bleeding, there is no leaching, there is no evidence of heat damage or penetration at the bottom. The cork is nicely stained. There is no sense smelling the cork. It's not going to tell you anything about the wine. And this now goes into our increasingly full wine glass of corks. Okay, so we're now going to decant this, and we'll be back with you shortly. Okay, so this wine has now been decanted, and as you can see, there is just a little bit, you might be able to see that, just a little bit there in the bottom, which is, you leave a little bit with the sediment left in it. Otherwise, you get nice little crunchy bits in your wine, which some people like, some people aren't a fan. So we have the glass, and we have the wine in a standard decanter, nothing fancy around here. And then, yeah, here we go. Happy Friday, everybody. I know you've been looking forward to it. I know I've been looking forward to it. Here we go. Now we just need to check the colour. The wine itself is a sort of a deep burgundy colour. I wouldn't really call it a ruby colour. There is a slight sort of orange tinge around the edges to it, which may be an indication of it's starting to age. It's not exactly a clear wine, but it's not hazy either. But it's not exactly translucent. You can't see through it, so there is the density in the body there to it. In terms of the legs and the glycerol, the alcohol on the wine runs down. It's quite thick. So I'm expecting this to be quite a full-bodied wine, as we're expecting with the 4 different varietals. Again, a wine with a good, strong body. So we shall see. So here we go with the taste. Salud. Okay, immediately on this wine, I'm getting a sense of a hint of chilies in there mixed with pepper, but sort of a ground black pepper. Perhaps with a slight hint of cloves, but yeah, it's certainly more sort of spicy than fruity. The fruit is there as more almost like a secondary, but it hits you first of all and then sort of slips back underneath, and then it's taken back over by the sort of the spiciness. It's not over spicy, it's not like hit in the face with a big peppercorn or anything. It's just nice and subtle, and it's there. In terms of the floral notes that we were hoping and expecting for, from the Petit Verdot, at the moment there's a slight, I don't know whether it's because I'm wanting it to be there, but there is a slight hint of the nondescript floralness. So yeah, I mean, for me, it is there. Is it presenting me with a large bouquet of roses? No, it's not. For me, at the moment, it's an overtone of the spiciness, the pepperiness, and hints of leather, which is an interesting one so far. It's a different character to the 3 that we've had so far. So, yeah, spices, undertones of the fruit, leatheriness with a little hint of floral. It's good. I mean, it's nice. It's good. So here we go. Ooh. That is complex. That is very complex. Okay, now where do you start with this? Okay, so in terms of the acidity is very low from my perspective. Ooh, that's an interesting flavour. The acidity is low. I'm not getting any bite here. I'm not getting any burn back of the throat. Well, there's a slight warmingness, but it's a slight warm, not a burn. So that's good. The alcohol is medium low. You're not getting the sense to it. It's all about the flavour. This is all about flavour. Okay, the tannins are, I would say, definitely present and firm. They are there, and between that and the fruit, there's almost like a separation between the two. The tannins are there, and then the fruit is more at the back of the mouth, whereas the tannins hit you at the front. So they're occupying different places on the flavour spectrum, which is unusual. So perhaps this wine needs just a little bit more to really mature, to really well mix and balance out the flavour between the fruit and the tannins. Okay, in terms of the flavours, the aftertaste is really quite long, this one, because I can still taste it now. And immediately I'm thinking it was like stewed beef, or even stewed. I've heard ones described as like stewed lamb with herbs, and that's the sort of flavour that I'm getting with this. A sort of a casserole dish with sort of a herb. That could be the shiraz, it could be the mix of the but I don't know. I really don't know. But it's a very pleasant flavour, sort of mixed with sort of a red currant jam. I'm reminded of a Sunday dinner. All right, an English Sunday dinner. For those of you that are not familiar with that, it's generally the traditional British roast beef with the vegetables and the roast potatoes and the Yorkshire pudding and the gravy, and it's always served usually with like a red currant jelly or a horseradish. This is the same sort of feeling that I'm getting, a sort of a red currant mixed with a braised and sort of a cooked meat with cooked green herbs in there. It's Sunday dinner in a glass. Well, I mean, why not? Yeah. The tannins are fine. The fruits of it, it's not overly blackcurranty, it's not overly harshly, it's not a blackberry bush, it's red currants, it's a hint of cherry, it's fermented, or not fermented, it's braised meats in there, it's herbs, it's spice, it's very, very complex. It's these different flavours, and I could see if you left this to mature within the glass and let it become more aromatic, it'd be extremely aromatic wine, and it would go really, really well. For those of you who like good cuts of beef, I could see that definitely with this kind of wine. Certainly with roasted meats. As a fan of that type of food, I would definitely pick this wine to go with that type of food. Okay, so as you know, it is Friday. As you get into the weekend, all you want to do is just arrive, get into it, and just hit the weekend and help yourself mellow down into Saturday. So, in order to help that, we do, as always, the double glug, which is a method of getting our autonomic reflex working, which is an involuntary reflex of your physiology of your body, which will give us an idea of the in-depth character of the wine. So that's the reason why we're doing this. And of course, the first glug of the weekend always has to be a good one. So, salute! That is beautiful. That is smooth. That it just slips down. It's like, the words coming to my mind is alchemical words such as like quicksilver. I mean, I know that was a strange term for mercury, but in this case, it is literally like it just slips down. It just leaves a beautiful, sort of spicy, warm, fruited sort of flavor just lingering in the mouth, and it just kicks off it's just instant relaxation. I can see now why, in terms of today, the wine can be seen as the sacrament, can be seen as the blood of the gods and the blood of the earth and the life force that comes in. If it can elicit that type of reaction, I'm getting quite chills at the moment. If it can elicit that type of reaction where you literally have an emotional reaction to something like that, then I can begin to see how wines, and I'm sure a lot of people understand this, how wine can be seen as a sacrament, which is interesting. So, yeah. Drink of the gods. Ambrosia. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so that was the Solar Fortun 2012 Noble Cru. There it is. If you want to check out more information about the Solar Fortun wines, You can check them out on www.solarfortun.com, little words down here. You can check out all of the range of the Solar Fortun wines. These wines are available to purchase direct from the winery. To all of you who have been helping to spread the word about all of these great Mexican wines, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. For all of you who have subscribed to us, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please press the little button down here. I'll just press it. Go on, do it. Click. It might be down here, so click. Please spread the word, send this out, like it, subscribe, comment. Nobody's commented. Well, one guy from the Netherlands commented, and he said that the Mexican wines were difficult to find in the Netherlands, and he didn't have any idea, but he did, and he was thankful about that. So thanks for your comment. If you have any questions, please let me know. We will answer within the videos. If you are unsure about anything, please let us know. If you like anything or want to see something specific, let us know. If you want us to try your wines, please get in contact and we can make this happen for you. If you really like these videos and you want to help us to make more of them, then please visit our Patreon page, and anything that you can do to help us is greatly appreciated. So, for now, it's Friday. Have a great Easter weekend. Enjoy your wines wherever you are. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and remember, tomorrow is Saturday, you can always have some more Vino Mexico. Salud.